Welcome back to the channel. After an overwhelmingly positive reaction to the last hometown horrors, and after a long absence, I'm back with a second creepy installment which I hope you'll enjoy. Whidbey Island, Washington. 15-year-old Elaine Sepulveda went missing on November 6, 2004. She'd snuck out of home the previous night to meet a much older 18-year-old boyfriend, James Sanders, at a church next door to his grandfather's house. Elaine was reported missing by her family after they went to check on her in her room. Many widespread searches by authorities failed to locate her, and when questioned, her boyfriend denied knowing anything or seeing her that night. But maybe unable to handle the guilt any longer, James revealed what had happened to Elaine to his grandfather, Ted Juris, a few months later on January 14th the following year. James claimed that he tried to stop Elaine from committing suicide and she, quote, died as a result. James failed to call 911, instead burying his young girlfriend in a compost pile in his grandfather's backyard. Ted reported it to the police, who later found Elaine's body exactly where James said it would be, ending the mystery of her whereabouts. After continuing their searches, authorities found some of Elaine's clothing inside James's closet. The official cause of death was homicide by asphyxiation, but the decomposition of the body made it difficult to prove with certainty. Brno, Czech Republic. In June of 2008, a Brno man had installed a TV baby monitor at his home, only to make a horrifying discovery. Instead of the new father seeing his brand new baby on the monitor, he instead saw a boy chained up and gagged. As this monitor could only pick up signals from a short range and likely of the same model of monitor, police were quickly able to identify which neighbor the boy was held captive. The victim was 8-year-old Andrei Mariova. His mother Clara installed the monitor into the basement so she could keep an eye on him while he suffered. During this time held up in the basement, Andrei was being partially skinned and his flesh was being fed to his cannibal relatives who were members of the Grail movement. The Grail movement is a secretive cult that originated in Germany and remains active in about 22 countries around the world. Andrei's older brother, 10-year-old Jacob, was also victimized, being whipped with belts, drowned, stabbed with cigarettes on his bare skin, and forced to cut himself with a knife. Both Andrei and Jacob were at some point chained to tables and kept in cages while being made to stand in their own urine for days. Police rescued Andrei and Jacob and who they thought was their 13-year-old sister Barbara. When Barbara fled the country to Norway, police discovered that she was really 34-year-old Barbara Skrilova, one of the children's torturers. Czech police brought her back to the Czech Republic to face trial. Hellertown, Pennsylvania. On August 19, 2013, a cleaner for the Starters pub in Hellertown who wishes to remain anonymous was performing routine checks in the women's bathroom. But on this night, he found some material sticking out of the toilet tank. After opening it, he discovered a dead baby wrapped inside. Using CCTV footage, a timeline was established and 27-year-old Amanda Hine was identified as the baby's mother. Amanda was brought in by authorities for questioning. She admitted to giving birth to the baby while attending to watch a wrestling pay-per-view event at the venue. Amanda claimed that the baby was already dead and didn't place it in the tank to kill it. One of the witnesses, Scott McNabb, said Amanda disappeared in the bathroom for at least 30 minutes, and when the group left Starters after watching the wrestling event, Hine had to sit on a tarp because she was bleeding profusely. She was convicted of first-degree murder. Morin-Heights, Quebec, Canada. On October 4th, 1994, while the town was getting ready for the winter ski season, a fire broke out in a house that left 5 people dead. At first, it was thought to be an accident that left 2 charred bodies, but investigators soon found 3 stabbed bodies, including a baby in an adjacent building. They discovered that the fire had been deliberately set with a series of timed incendiary devices, but not all had gone off. Among those victims was Tony Detroit. Detroit was employed by the cult Order of the Solar Temple to install electronic devices in the building. These devices were specifically designed to trick members into seeing spirits summoned by cult leader Luc Chauret by projecting images of loved ones and notable people. Order of the Solar Temple's dogma consisted of a strange mix of Catholicism, Rosicrucian beliefs, elements of ancient Egyptian beliefs, shamanism, doomsday scenarios, and combined with Templar-like mythical rituals, regalia, and a strict hierarchy where members advanced through financial donations. They also taught that all followers will only go to heaven by being burnt alive. Tony Detroit and his wife Nikki were members of the cult in Switzerland, but after Nikki had suffered a miscarriage, the cult's co-founder and leader of the Swiss chapter, Joseph Dimambro, forbade her to have any more children. Tony and Nikki left their native Switzerland to move to Morin-Heights, a small town with a strong Order of Solar Temple presence. Tony remained employed by the cult, but after learning that Dimambro stole funds from the cult's collective bank accounts for his own personal use, he told other members about his previous handiwork, which led to several members leaving the sect. It's believed that Dimambro exacted revenge against Tony by selecting Joel Egger, a 34-year-old fanatical member of the cult, to murder the Detroit family. Egger boarded a plane from Switzerland and flew to Quebec to rendezvous with Jerry and Colette Guenot, a Swiss couple, and the Detroit's longtime friend, Dominique Belleton, in the Morin-Heights cult building. On October 4, Belleton invited the Detroits to the cult building for a catch-up and to see Tony and Nikki's newborn child, Emmanuel. When they arrived, Tony was beaten over the head with a blunt object, had his throat slashed from ear to ear, and was stabbed 50 times in the chest. Nikki was stabbed 8 times in the back, 4 times in the throat, and 1 in each breast. 3-month-old Manuel was stabbed repeatedly in the chest with a wooden stake. Jerry and Colette were present on the night of the murder. They cleaned the building and connected timers to an ignition device hooked up to several containers of gasoline. Hours later, the building went up in flames. Jerry and Colette Guenot's deaths were ruled as suicide as they died in the fire. But the case doesn't end here, as we now head over to Sylvan, Switzerland. Joel Egger had returned to Switzerland, bringing his accomplice, Dominique Belleton, with him. The next day, Joseph Dimambro and 12 members, including Egger and Belleton, performed a ritual Last Supper in Sylvan, then ordered a mass suicide across all branches. 48 more followers of the cult were found dead, 25 in Sylvan and 23 in neighbouring Cherie. While some were believed to have willingly committed suicide, others appear to have been killed. Many of the dead in Switzerland were found arranged in a circle with their heads facing outward. Many had been drugged, some had plastic bags over their heads, but many had been shot in the head. The 2 cult leaders, Luc Chauret, who claimed he was a reincarnation from the time of the Templars, and a reincarnation of Jesus, and Joseph Dimambro were among the dead and had taken poison. While technically no longer related to Switzerland, the ritual killings continued in 1995. 16 more were found dead in a star formation in a ritual killing and suicide by gun and fire in the Vercors Mountains of neighbouring France. 1956 Winter Olympian Edith Bonlieu was among those found dead. In March 1997, police discovered 5 burned bodies believed to be connected with the cult in the small town of Saint Casimir, about an hour west of Quebec City. Prior to these events, Canadian police long suspected the cult of being a front for arms smuggling and money laundering. And that brings us to the end of the video. I'd like to give a shout out to all the existing subscribers for all your support, especially during my time away, and to all new subscribers who've found my channel on YouTube and passed on all your nice comments.